Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, we start with the salutation of peace, salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As the event was advertised, we are here to see what is our role in fulfilling the late Shaykh Khalfan's mission. He was with us, he did a lot, and it's not enough for us just to cry and say, Khalfan, we miss him, that's it, but we have to take action and continue the mission he had on mind, which was very clear to all of us. But before I go on talking about Shaykh Khalfan and his last moment in this life and what was the secret which he kept for himself of the loved ones, I will start with a funny story which happened to me. Long time ago, I decided to go with some friends to a farm. And we were about 2 cars, about 9 youngsters in those days, 9 youngsters. So once we entered that farm, it belonged to one of the youngsters' father. So when we entered that farm, the guys saw a goat house, they saw a mother horse and a baby horse. And they decided suddenly, why shouldn't we ride a horse? For me, it is a disaster to think riding a horse. In my younghood, I tried to ride a donkey and I failed. And from those days, I have a barrier on mind. I don't want to ride a horse, a donkey, anything. So the guys said, they started to encourage me. Oh, you have to do it. I said, listen, I can do it, but I'll be the last one. Out of the 9, I'm the last one. They said, okay. So the guy took the horse and he was preparing the saddle on it. And the baby horse was still captured inside the house horse. So that young horse started to bang here and there. Then they decided later, if we keep this young horse inside doing that, it will harm itself. So let's let it free. So they decided to open the gate and let the young horse to run. That young horse ran about 500 meters, happily to be free in the farm. Then suddenly it turned around and it looked at us and it came with a high speed. So every one of us, we thought, that's it. We are going to die today. This horse is very angry. Why we are going to ride its mother? So without thinking, some of us escaped under the car. For me, there was a wall about 2 meters high. I didn't know how did I jump that. Suddenly I saw myself with the goats there. Even the goats, they were taken by surprise to see another person is there. So we were about 9 of us. None of us was carried enough to stand and receive the horse, the young horse. So with no thinking at all, everybody tried to escape. Even to the extent, one of the youngsters, he went inside the car and locked. So I was thinking, why did he do that? Did he think the baby horse will open the lock? Why did we react like that? We're so scared. because it came in a high speed and as if it is going to smash everybody. There is a lesson. Believe me, there is a lesson out of this. This lesson, I want you today to go back home and open chapter 50 of the Holy Quran, chapter 50 of Dhariyat, verse 50 and 51. I want you to read these verses very carefully. Verse 50 and 51, chapter 50 in the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Flee to Allah. Flee is different than running. Flee means in a high speed. You have to go back to Allah with a high speed. Why? Once, and also we see in the Holy Quran, Allah asking us to fear Him. In this incident which happened to me, I was running away from the horse because I was afraid. Why, in this case, I have to flee to Allah while I'm afraid of Allah? The logic says you have to run away out of the things, out of the thing which are scaring you, isn't it? That is the logic. But in this case, you have to flee to Allah, not away from Him. Why? Back to my story, I found a space to hide. He didn't hide. Some of them, they went under the car. Some, they went inside the car. So we had a space to hide. If you run away from Allah, do you have a space to hide? Do you have a space to hide? So you don't have an option except to run to Him, obey Him. Then you'll be safe. You'll live in this life in security and tranquility, and you will accept all His tests on you, and you'll pass, inshallah. So verse 50 says, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Flee to Allah, indeed, I am a warner from Him. وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Again says, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 50, وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ. Don't put any other deity, any partner along with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, I am a warner from Him. So, twice it says, I'm a warner, in two verses. Who is warning us? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last of the prophets, the last messenger. If we want to succeed, then we have to follow that warning. To associate with Allah doesn't mean that you worship another idol. That's it. You can worship money, you can worship your position, you can worship anything else. So Allah is warning you, do not associate anything with Him. Shaykh Khalfan lived with a clear mission. He wanted to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he wanted a nice end, husn al-khatimah. And we are going to play a film shortly, showing you one of his missions. It's nothing to do with him, but very clearly you are going to understand what was one of his missions. Before that, before Al-Khatib plays that, the secret which Shaykh Khalfan didn't want to tell anyone else, that the disease in his last trip to Germany, he was informed and told that the disease has spread to another part of his body. But yet, he was so positive when we paid visit to him. He didn't show any sign of shock. He didn't show any sign of sadness. He was so positive. He tried his best to keep us away of thinking that we are going to lose it. So positive till the last moment of his life. When the news came that the disease has spread to another part of his body, which I'm not going to mention because his wife didn't want me to say which part of the body, his wife was so in pain and was so shocked. She slept that night with sorrow, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her to see the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in her dream, telling her, don't worry, don't feel sad, Khalfan on the safe hands, on the safe night. So when she woke up, the next day she was so cool. Even when we were washing the body of her husband, he was so cool, stable, alhamdulillah. Okay? Also, there was a dream which made Sheikh Khalfan cry. It was in his last trip to Germany. He saw in that dream so many people going to Al-Kaaba, to Al-Haram. And amongst those people, the people he influenced and they accepted or reverted to Islam. When he wanted to enter Al-Kaaba, somebody told him, you still have to wait. When he woke up, he cried. Then he understood the meaning. He said, all my good deeds are waiting for me. I'm yet to be cleared from the sins which I have. Then I'm going to reach to my sins and to the final happy destiny, inshallah. Okay? So Al-Khatib will play that, the story of that young man.
As some of you might be aware, I myself I was born and brought up in a Muslim family. By the time I got to the teenage years, I was a Muslim who didn't really believe in God. A Muslim who had basically rejected the very fundamentals of Islam. But Muslim by name. We would go to the masjid because our father would drag us to the masjid. We would run away during Taraweeh prayers while the Imam's praying for an hour down on London Road. And then back before the last witr. And when Dad asks, where have you been? Oh, I was in the back row, I had to make wudu, and then I got to the back row. We had no interest whatsoever with Islam. No interest in Islam at all. Until a period came, I was studying, where I came home from school one day and I saw a small booklet on the floor. I opened the door and there's a small booklet. And the booklet is called, Do You Know This Book? So I thought that's a strange title. How can I know the book before I've even read it? And it had no indication that it was something to do with religion. So I picked up this book. If I'd have known that it was related to religion, I would have ignored it straight away. But I picked up this book. And in this book, and remember this is well before Peace TV and Zakir Naik and all of these things, where we didn't really have any knowledge of science in the Quran. I started reading this book and it was talking about some of the very scientific facts that were mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago. It talked about how the earth went around the sun. It talked about embryology, the different stages of a fetus. It talked about the water cycle. It talked about mountains being pegs holding down the earth's crust. It talked about the universe expanding as time goes on. So being into science, I was quite amazed by this. The book explained that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not read nor write. 2 days after reading this book, I went back to school. We were doing A-levels, and I was in a physics lesson, and we had the most boringest teacher that you could possibly imagine. He was a very intelligent guy, extremely intelligent. He was doing some research, and he was doing cutting-edge research, so that he knew things that nobody else in the world knew about physics, because he was the one discovering some of these things. And obviously that made him a little bit arrogant. And I remember on this particular day, he was walking up and down. You can imagine a short, stocky fellow, and he had his trousers somewhere up here, quite contrary to the fashion today. And he would walk up and down. He'd never look at the audience, and he would play with his braces. And on that particular day, he said, he was talking about something or other, I wasn't really paying attention, until he said that the universe is expanding. So obviously I read this 2 days ago in the little booklet, Do You Know This Book? So I put up my hand. I said, sir, how long ago did we discover this? How long ago did we discover this? And I remember his reaction. It was a defining moment in my life. He puffed up his chest, he lifted his head, and he said, oh, it's been about 40 years now. 40 years. But this was mentioned in the Quran 1400 years ago. I was flabbergasted. I went home, and in this small booklet, it referred to another book. It said, please refer to a book called The Bible, the Quran and Science by Dr. Morris Bukai. Many of you have probably heard of this book. So I looked for the nearest religious person. Where can I get this book? And I found my mum. So I said, Mum, where can I find this book? The Bible, the Quran and Science by Dr. Morris Bukai. And she said, it's on your bookshelf. She had actually put it on my bookshelf, hoping that one day I will read this book. So I read through this book, and it talked about the Quran and some of the scientific miracles in the Quran, and it talked about the Bible, and I went to the various churches to find out about what they have to say in response to the claims made by Dr. Bukai. But eventually I went around in a circle. Even though I was so averse to Islam, I eventually came back to Islam itself through this booklet. There's someone unknown in this story. And for me, this person is the most important person in this story. And that is the person who posted this booklet through my door. I don't know who this person is. I don't know how old he is or she is, or if they're rich or poor, or which nationality they are. I don't know their education. I don't know anything about this person. But this person, by doing a deed which may have taken just a few seconds or a few minutes, posting this booklet through my door, he changed my whole life. My whole life changed. And for me, this person, what I find most amazing about this is that every act of worship that I do, whether it's a prayer, whether it's, any act of worship that I do, fasting, whether it be giving zakah, giving lectures, any act of worship that I do, this person, inshallah, gets a copy of that deed. That's amazing. And I don't know anything about this person. In fact, this person may not even know who I am. But they felt the need to post this booklet through my door. And how many other people, or how many other people's doors did this person post this booklet through? And imagine this person might turn up on the Day of Judgment because of these few people, or maybe many people, that they have managed to, by the grace of Allah, to help, to guide, by the grace of Allah, to Islam. How much of their reward has this person taken? For me, this is amazing. On the Day of Judgment, and this is the important point here, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Ad-dalu ala al-khayr kafa'ilihi," or kama qal. That the one who guides another to do good, he is like the one who did that good himself. He gets a copy of that person's good deeds. And the first person who actually did the good, no deed, no reward is wiped off his slate. It's a complete copy. So you can imagine, by giving da'wah to a person, whether that be with the tongue, whether that be financially, by sponsoring something, a CD, a book, a DVD, whatever that may be, whether that is by physically posting or handing out leaflets or books or something of this nature. If one person accepts Islam, brothers and sisters, through this,
I think you enjoyed the short film.
you have got
And you
a brand
understood
new
what we wanted to
opportunity.
say. Anyone can share with me what was the mission in that
And what's
film?
amazing for me is that it's not just about the person's prayer or his fasting or his seeking knowledge or his giving
Participate
da'wah.
in mental sleep. Give you a lesson how sunnah, sleeping in sunnah.
Can you use the mic?
Come on. There's no right or wrong answers. Joba, you always first. My question.
Assalamu alaikum. The question here is, what have we understood on this film, which is related to Khalfan's activities, whatever he did during his lifetime? As I see it here, actually a person who walked from his house or from a bookshop with the booklet and went to this guy and put that small book for the guy to read, it led him to the point in which we have had him explaining here. And you can imagine that compared to what Sheikh Khalfan did, this is just a tip of an iceberg, because he did a lot of mission, he distributed a lot of books, he did a lot of lectures, and I can try to imagine now, if he, at least let's say a few of those people, or let's say 50% of those people, came to a point in which this guy has reached, we can imagine how much reward will be to the late Sheikh Khalfan. And we pray that he is in the highest point of the paradise.
For me, when I saw this film, I saw it is the right one to play today, because what we are missing is to understand our own religion. This is the problem with many youngsters, and we think the modern science and whatever the immigration, whatever in other countries, in advanced countries, then we degrade our values, the values of our religion. While this guy, he was in the same situation when he understood, when he had time to read and understand Quran, then he said, I came back to Islam. I came back to Islam. So, from the relationship I had with my dear, the late Sheikh Khalfan, he encouraged us to study and understand Quran. When we understand Quran and make it a guidance in our life, then that is the highest point of happiness, tranquility, when in this life and in the hereafter. Right. Now I'm going to talk about the last moments of Sheikh Khalfan in this life. Then we're going to play some slideshows of his photos. Then it will be open for you guys to participate. Any moments which you cannot forget you had with Sheikh Khalfan, may Allah be pleased upon him. Khalfan's health started to deteriorate on Saturday. Actually, on Friday, he had a family gathering, and it was because after his mother passed away, they decided to continue the practice they had, is to meet every time in one of the members' house, family member's house. So, alhamdulillah, the last one was in his house, so all the families, they were there. On Saturday, he felt pain, but he didn't want to go to the hospital. On Sunday, they had to take him. He had some dryness in the body. They took him, and before leaving the house even, he was telling his wife that you have to furnish this, the sitting area, and turn it to be my office. I'm coming back to work here. So he was so positive till the last moment. And although from the way I understood from his son that he felt he's going to die and he's going to pass away, but still he wanted all the people around him to, you know, feel that everything is okay. So on Sunday he was taken to the hospital. Monday, early morning, till 9 o'clock he was fine. He was talking to people, hugging his family. Then one of the kidneys stopped functioning. They started or tried to make it, to boost it in order to make it function. It failed. So they asked his son to come in a private way and told him that we cannot do anything, any extra efforts on Khalfan, just leave him on your father, so just leave him pass away peacefully. So Ahmed was the first of the family members to know that his father is going to pass away. From that moment, all family members started to go to the hospital. He was still able to talk to them with difficulties. Then the last moments, or the last words in this life, it was calling Allah. So he repeated, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. And he kept repeating that till the sound was disappeared, but still they could see his tongue trying to repeat the same word. And always I give an example for the Husn al-Khatimah and Su al-Khatimah, the bad end, the good end. It is like a sponge, a piece of sponge. When you saturate the piece of sponge with milk, then you come to squeeze, what you are going to get out is milk. If you saturate it with water, then water. So if your heart is full of Allah, Allah's love, then when the angels come to squeeze it, then the last word will come out is Allah. I remember a story, and then a taxi driver used to repeat 100 Beza, 100 Beza, those days. Now there is no 100 Beza in taxi fares here. And his colleagues, whenever the adhan was there, they used to call him for prayers. He said, no, the 100 Beza is better than your salah. He used to say that. And subhanAllah, Allah made his end to be around the taxi station. A car accident happened. They came to tell him, repeat La ilaha illallah. He said, he still kept saying the 100 Beza is better than the salah till he died. So that is the sponge. That is the heart. When it is squeezed, whatever inside will come out. So Shaykh Khalfan kept repeating Ya Allah till he died, midnight of Monday, early morning of Tuesday. I participated in washing his body. We washed his body about 5 o'clock. He passed away around 12 o'clock. So it was 5 hours. Still, we treated that body as if it is a fresh body. And he was smiling, very clear smile. And all of you know how many people turned up in his funeral. So that is why people came from Nizwa, from Batina, from everywhere to pay respect to Shaykh Khalfan. There is a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, if Allah loves somebody, then he will tell his angel Jibreel that I love somebody, so love him. Then Jibreel will love that person, and he will announce to all the angels, God or Allah loves a person by name, then everybody will love him, and all the pious people will accept him, and on earth acceptance is always there for him. So if we want Allah to love us, we should strive, we should struggle till we get that love, and inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala we will be with Shaykh Khalfan. But before even to hope to be with Shaykh Khalfan, we will be with our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the companions and all the pious people we met here. We will meet inshallah in Jannah. Now we play the side.
Most of all, I remember your smile. Where there's a right, there is no wrong. I always thought we were so strong, but our time just flew right by. There wasn't a chance to say goodbye. I'm so confused, I feel all alone. Deep in my heart I know Allah has called you home. But yet your smile still lingers in my mind. And yet it's so hard, I just break down and cry. I remember your eyes, find a way to melt my heart. Most of all, I remember your smile. Sometimes I lie awake at night, the pain in my heart I just can't fight. Why did you have to go away? Yet I know none of us can stay. You'll always be so special to me. In this world you'll always live as a memory. Whoa. But yet your smile still lingers in my mind. And yet it's so hard, I just break down and cry. I remember your eyes, find a way to melt my heart. Most of all, I remember your smile. But yet your smile still lingers in my mind. And yet it's so hard, I just break down and cry. I remember your eyes, find a way to melt my heart. Most of all, I remember your smile.
The slide took us back, and as if we see Sheikh Khalfan is alive and amongst us. But as I said, it's not to boost the emotion and cry, but we have to take the mission. We have to continue. He was very clever in approaching the non-Muslims, attracting them to the happiness of here and the hereafter. He did for himself. We have to do for ourselves. We have to follow the steps, and he used to say, every person has got capability. Don't allow the ropes, the obstacles to bound you, to limit your efforts, because what you are doing is you are doing for yourself in the day of judgment. Not less than 300 people embraced Islam out of his influence. How many did you influence? Ask yourself. As you saw there, he had time to come and be with youngsters, with small kids. Do you have time to do that? You are so busy. Will you be busier than Sheikh Khalfan in his life? I don't think so. It's only the motivation. He had a clear mission, a goal he wanted to reach, and inshallah he has reached. Now we invite whoever had special memories with Sheikh Khalfan in the aspect of da'wah or anything which will benefit us inshallah. And we'll start with Brother Sheikh Musallam there, who was a friend of Sheikh Khalfan for the last 20 years.
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I was so confused when Sheikh Saud asked me today to come and say something about Sheikh Khalfan. I knew him since 1995, May 1995, until the day he died, which was again May 2015, so it's exactly 20 years since I knew him. I was told I only have about 5 minutes to talk about him. It's not fair, but I'm going to stick on that rule. 20 years, 5 minutes, they don't match. But anyway, there's only one thing I'm going to say about Sheikh Khalfan that made him stand out of others. It's not only his knowledge, he had a lot of it. It's not only his intellectual, his reasoning, his knowledge of applied psychology, philosophy, and most of all, of course, religion. He had all of that. But what really made Sheikh Khalfan stand out is his moral, ethics, behavior, conduct. That's what really made Sheikh Khalfan stand out from the rest. Wherever we go, the first thing people see him, you get a culture shock, as you can see. Many people see him at the first time, especially at the end of this life now. People are related with the big beards and the terrorists. So obviously, whenever we travel somewhere, people see him at the first instant, they get a culture shock. Only after he starts to speak with them, with their own languages. And that's why people are surprised how come Sheikh Khalfan could speak 28 languages. 6 of them mastered, and the others he could at least have a greeting with the people. So he breaks the ice. Soon he meets somebody with their own languages. And after that, people start to like this man. Everybody who saw Sheikh Khalfan, and I'm sure all of you here, you wouldn't come to this lecture today if you did not like this man. So that is one of the things that Sheikh Khalfan did. He could steal your heart straight away, and you will never let go of it. The second thing is that this man really walked the talk. He did not preach something that he doesn't do. A lot of us, including myself, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me, sometimes we go and preach, we try to tell people to do this, do that. But if you look deep into your heart yourself, sometimes we do not preach what we do. But Shaykh Khalfan really did what he was preaching. He was walking the talk. So you could not tell Shaykh Khalfan, you know, some of us when we're trying to convince our wives or kids or something, he says, okay, start it with yourself. You know, but you couldn't say that word to Shaykh Khalfan because he had it already, mashallah. One of the stories maybe I could relate is that how Shaykh Khalfan was so patient and so, what do you call it, he took a lot himself, is that when one person who was not a Muslim, he tried to talk, he wanted somebody to talk to him, so they told him about Shaykh Khalfan. When he started to talk to him, every time Shaykh Khalfan would talk, this person would interrupt Shaykh Khalfan, never leave him to finish what he was saying. And it was really irritating for the people who was listening to this conversation. But the amazing thing that it was not irritating to him. He was still, with his smile, trying to give another corner, come from the other side, and trying to convince this person. And this person kept on interrupting him and saying, I'm sorry, but I don't get what you say. I don't, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Just imagine you're talking to someone who doesn't want you to finish what you're talking, and still commenting on what you're saying that it doesn't make any sense. Okay, let me finish first. But Shaykh Khalfan didn't interrupt this man. He kept on listening to him. And whenever this man kept on interrupting Shaykh Khalfan would still smile and let him speak. And then he would come again, try to tell him about Islam. At the end, when the time finished, this man told Shaykh Khalfan, I'm sorry, I didn't get what you say. I'm not convinced of what you're saying. I don't think it makes any sense. So, thank you very much. And what was the response of Shaykh Khalfan? He said, I'm really sorry. It is me who failed you. It is me who could not portray Islam correctly. So please forgive me. I mean, it was a shock. For everyone else, what Shaykh Khalfan said was 100% making sense. But for this man, as if he was trying to irritate Shaykh Khalfan. But Shaykh Khalfan did not lose his temper. And this is how he was Shaykh Khalfan. I'm sure people who are watching video here know Shaykh Khalfan when he first entered in the HSC department. He, you know, told everyone, if anybody will see me any day, I'm down, unhappy, angry, just remind me, I will give you 20 riyal. And he went out of video without anybody winning even 1 riyal. So he really was, you know, controlling his emotions. And in this case, he did it very well. If I was in his place, believe me, I would have stopped it from the first 2 minutes. But he continued, and at the end, he blamed himself that I'm the one who would not really portray Islam or giving you the information of Islam as I should do. So please forgive me. To the surprise that this person, second day, phoned Shaykh Khalfan and said, listen, all what you say makes sense. I was just testing your patience. And this man became a Muslim. And he was so stiff in what he used to believe before. I don't want to say what religion he used to be. But he was so much stiff into what he was believing. But because of Shaykh Khalfan's conduct, moral, the way he dealt with people, this man said, I was testing you, and all what you said made sense, and he became a Muslim. So, in short, this is one of the stories, this is one of the Shaykh Khalfan's quality, which I hope, inshallah, we will all can train ourselves to become like him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him and rise him to the highest grades of Jannah, inshallah.
Anyone else? The aspect of da'wah, inshallah, not aspect of fun. He used to say, my name is Khalfan, so let's have fun. He used to say like that. I remember one day I was going to catch Jama'ah prayers, and while walking, he phoned me. So I replied to him, I'm praying, and I switched on the phone. So after the prayers, when I called him again, he said, in which rak'ah you were? Because he was so surprised how I am praying and replying to him that I'm praying. So any anyone want to participate, inshallah?
Can I?
He wants.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. I would like to share a moment of change in my life that happened between me and Sheikh Khalfan. In short, if I want to talk about Sheikh Khalfan, I would say that he was a beautiful fragrance. Everywhere that he goes, he will leave that beautiful smell. Everywhere that he goes, you can feel and sense him. And in da'wah, I would like to say that, maybe Sheikh knows me, I used to be one of those very energetic boys. Don't care about anything. And when I met Sheikh Khalfan, he changed me. He shook my heart, and it really changed me. But most importantly, since the time is less, I would like to share one thing, is in da'wah, sometimes you work very hard to invite people, and the people that you are inviting, they actually don't listen to you. And there is this one guy passing by there, and he listened to you, and that will change you. So remember that your efforts will never go away. It will always be there. And this is what I learned. And this is what I'm trying to deliver right now. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair.
Anyone else? Come on, Abdulaziz, you guys, you have lived with Sheikh Khalfan for many years. You can't remember even one unforgettable moment. Come on. Aspect of that.
Apart from the speech, Sheikh Solid others, the small thing you can do, not to underestimate. It could be a very small minor thing, but has very big impact. Like the booklet, someone who dropped it over there to the person. So we don't underestimate any good thing, a minor thing can have a big impact. A friend of mine, his wife was not believing about hijab. And he invited him to his house. He said, I don't believe in flowers. When he invited him to his house with his family, with other friends, once they finished, the way he approached them, the way he talked to them, you know, ad-din amala, ad-din nasiha, ad-din mu'amala. So the way how he was approaching people, it made people to listen to him and to be obeyed Islam.
So, anyone else? Or should we wrap up and finish?
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, here, having listened to all this which we heard from Sheikh Saud, and having seen the film, it sets a very positive example for all of us that there is a mission that we need to accomplish. And we should know where to start, where to go next. The only thing is that a person like Sheikh Khalfan, being very charismatic, won the hearts of so many people. I remember whenever I asked him a question, one answer was more than enough. I remember someday asking him about, he said, well, I say that there is a lot of stories that many of the females will go to hell. This is a story not from him, actually. It is a religious story because of the kufr and many things that are done by the females. And I said, I think in my own thinking that most of the females will go to heaven because of the difficulties that they go through. They carry us in their stomachs for 9 months, and they go through a lot of trouble. And they deliver the babies, they bring up the babies. If you think that women don't do even a small percentage of the difficulty that the female undergo. And what he said, well, if the female knew how much reward they're getting from Allah, they would have produced babies like cats. That means just so many in one go, and they will be rewarded accordingly. Yeah, so the reward is very high. And I recall Khalfan being so positive, and the way he answered, as I told you, is very, very attractive to anybody to go again and ask many more questions. Apart from that, I recall the way he was available to all of us in Radio Oman, the English channel, to give his preachings and also answer a lot of questions. He was a person who was very intellectual to a certain degree of philosophy also, and he used to give very inspirational what we call stories to young people and all other people as well. And those came, whenever you listen at him, you see that psychologically he can put you to be to a very high motivated level just by listening to him. We need to adapt this method of approaching the people, because I've seen some learned people. They are very aggressive when they talk to other people. Okay, you're a learned person, like Sheikh Saud is a learned person, but the way he approaches us is also very good. But there are people who straight away will come to you, oh, you have shaved your beard, you are going to hell. This is not the way to
because it's my uncle.
So, just the last thing I would say to everybody, let us just follow the footsteps of Hayat Sheikh Khalfan, and inshallah, we have to look far beyond where we are now. I see a lot of da'wah taking place within Oman. But again, let us remember that outside Oman, I've seen actually in Africa and other places, so many people are reverting to other religions because there is less dawah given to them. And this is very touching actually. I have been to some areas where there are people, you find somebody, John Shaban, he was Khamis Shaban, now he's John Shaban. I attended the funeral of one guy that I know. His father was teaching Quran when I was a young guy, and his daughter died, this guy, and I knew that his daughter would be a Muslim. But when I went there, there were some people of other religion actually, and with singing and dancing around the grave. I was one of the people there. I just listened actually. And then the lecturer on that funeral said, we are happy that this lady was very lucky to come to our religion, and that's it. So you can imagine how badly are we performing. I was surprised that this is a son of a Quran teacher and his daughter today is buried here, non-Muslim. Very touching. So let us look forward and try our best. Inshallah. Shukran.
So inshallah, as we said, it's not crying, it's not feeling. Last one?
Yeah, last
okay, because of Salah, inshallah.
I just remember one incident. There was a Canadian guy who came to Oman the first day, and Sheikh Khalfan was giving a presentation. He asked him, he had the quick answers. He asked, why don't you Muslims say, pray, you don't say ladies and men together? And straightforward said, if you're saying a prayer and next to you with a daughter, and after that there's a man, would you be concentrating to worship Allah, or be thinking that guy, what he's doing to your daughter?
So inshallah, we adopt the way. I remember Brother Sallam, I think he told me, or somebody, he told me about one man asking about Islam. He wanted to know about Islam. And everybody was pointing to Sheikh Khalfan. Everybody is guiding him to Sheikh Khalfan. So now we need a lot of Sheikh Khalfans after he's passed away. We need our houses to open. We need to adopt the teachings of Islam in our life. Then we can convince people that we are in happiness. If today I raise my hand and advertising a medicine, which I say it cures flu, okay, and I stand in the middle of the market and tell people this medicine cures flu, and I start, flattering or, talking a lot about that medicine, but at a sudden people see me take a tissue and, cleaning my nose. I'm infected with flu. Will people believe me? Never. So, If we want to call people to Islam, then we have to embrace all the teachings. We have to follow the teachings of Islam and open our doors. We need so many Shaykh Khalfans who have time to go with kids, who have time to go to the orphans, bring them to the entertainment, gain their hearts. We need a lot of Shaykh Khalfans. We cannot do the jobs individually and say, as one of the friends he said, we cannot replace Shaykh Khalfan but as one person, but we can replace him as a group, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we pray, we make a dua inshallah for Shaykh Khalfan to wrap up this event, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua. اللهم يا واحد يا حي يا فرد يا صمد يا من لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا احد. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا رسولك محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين، كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا خليلك ابراهيم وعلى ال سيدنا ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. اللهم تقبل منا اليسير واعف عنا الكثير ولا تؤاخذنا بالذنب التقصير. اللهم بلغنا شهر رمضان، اللهم اعنا فيه على الصيام والقيام وتلاوة وتدبر القرآن. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نسألك حسن الخاتمة ونعوذ بك اللهم من سوء الخاتمة. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك اللهم من سخطك والنار. اللهم اغفر لأخانا شيخنا خلفان، اللهم اسكنه الجنان، اللهم اسكنه الجنان، اللهم اسكنه الجنان. اللهم جازه بالإحسان إحسانا وبالذنب عفوا وغفرانا. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم ابدله دارا خيرا من داره وقرارا خيرا من قراره وأهلا خيرا من أهله. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم لا تفتنا بعده، اللهم ولا تحرمنا أجره. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم يا من قدرت لنا لقياه في هذه الحياة الدنيا، نسألك اللهم أن تجمعنا به في أعلى الفردوس. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم اجمعنا اللهم اجمعنا به في دار تدوم فيها الصحبة. يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.
شكرا يا ربي شكرا، هديت قلبي شكرا، نورت دربي شكرا. شكرا يا رب، شكرا يا ربي شكرا، هديت قلبي شكرا، نورت دربي شكرا. شكرا يا رب، شكرا يا رب، يا منزل القرآن، يا خالق الإنسان، يا رب يا رحمن. شكرا يا رب، شكرا يا رب، يا منزل القرآن، يا خالق الإنسان، يا رب يا رحمن. شكرا يا رب، شكرا يا ربي شكرا، هديت قلبي شكرا، نورت دربي شكرا. شكرا يا رب. شكرا يا ربي شكرا، هديت قلبي شكرا، نورت دربي شكرا، شكرا يا رب.
أنا بصلاتي أسلم وبالسعادة أنعم، أفخر بأني مسلم. شكرا يا رب،
شكرا يا رب،
يا خالق الأكوان، يا رب يا رحمن، أكرمني بالغفران. شكرا يا رب،
شكرا يا رب،
يا خالق الأكوان، يا رب يا رحمن، أكرمني بالغفران. شكرا يا رب،
شكرا يا ربي شكرا، هديت قلبي شكرا، نورت دربي شكرا، شكرا يا رب.
We are one nation وأن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة